Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Good Mom. Hi, Sunny. Nice to see you.
Hi, Lindsay. Good to see you too.
Oh, today's such a good day, and I can't wait to talk to you about this because it was a topic that's been really coming up for me a lot. And it's
Okay.
how to let kids be really who they are. They want to be adults, but they don't want to be adults. And they want to try things, but then they're afraid and they don't want to try things. And then there's times when we kind of want to guide them into direction and let that, maybe encourage them to try something and they go, I hate this. And then you're like, really? Do you hate that? And I was finding myself getting a little frustrated with talking with my own kids about aspects of life that they want to do their way and in a certain way. And I have one child that's a nerd and the other one that's a scientist. So they respond and look at life very differently. But there's a real finesse to letting them be exactly who they are and not trying to put too much guidance in and leaving things alone. So I'd be curious, you have a little bit younger kids. What are you doing right now to just let them be who they are without riding off the rails into the sticker bushes,
Yeah. And to learn those lessons too, because a lot of times as a mom, you just want to step in regardless of their personality, right? And just be like, oh, there's this going on and you're running right towards it. And we need to steer you over and back in this direction. I feel like that's my main challenge, Lindsay, as a mom, is letting my kids just be who they are. And especially at a time when they're still trying to figure out who they are. And I don't necessarily know, I don't want to formulate things too much for them. I want them to be authentically themselves. I think that's one of the biggest things our society struggles with, is always trying to be something else for someone else instead of you just being you, authentically you. Right?
I was just
and so of course
listening.
I want to honor that.
Well, and I was just listening to Mel Robbins' podcast this morning, kid you not, and she was interviewing a man named Todd Rose, and they were talking about the downside of being unauthentic. And what's really interesting is my first book that came out in 2005, that was the whole topic, was how to be and why we should be more authentic in our lives. Well, the downside is if we're not, they're actually doing research at Harvard that shows it is causing health problems. So for people who don't speak up, who go along with the group think, who just do what their friends say or what the bulk of the people around them say, they're actually finding that those people are getting sicker, having more heart issues, heart health issues, other kinds of issues, cortisol and, weight gain, because they're not speaking up, right? And so it's really interesting because I've seen in my own children and then in a lot of other people's kids, when they grow through their friend groups, sometimes they outgrow a friend group, but they're terrified to leave it or to let them go or whatever, because they don't know that it's okay to outgrow people, right? So here we are as parents trying to let them be authentically them. And they're kind of stuck in a system, in a society that says, go along with the group. You got to belong.
Of course.
So
yeah, I feel like that's exactly what school is.
Right.
For kids.
Right. So
Group
how do we
think,
help
group
them?
think.
Right? How do we help these kids? And how do we, as moms, really encourage the authentic behavior? I'd love to hear what you have to say.
So I have an interesting situation. So as you know, I have 4 kids and they're all very, very different. Okay. But the group of kids that I want to focus on are my twin girls because they're identical twins. Right.
Yeah. There
and
you
one
go.
of the toughest things that I have had to learn how to do is to it's difficult to describe, but it's like, because I don't know if it's because they're twins or the thoughts that they share or whatever, like they like to do a lot of stuff together. And I've said to them, you are separate people. Okay. You do not have to do the same thing. They are almost 12 years old, Lindsay, and they still dress alike.
Wow.
That is their choice.
It's their choice.
I mean,
love
as
it.
babies, Yeah, well, as babies, it was cute, and we bought them, you know, "Oh, you're
Yeah.
this color, and you're this color, and what" so we did that whole thing, and that's fine,
Yeah.
but they are now back doing this. I mean, there was, like, a year or so, and I think I may have shared this on one of the podcasts before, but then for some reason, whatever happened with COVID, where everyone was at home learning, this is before I
Yeah.
was homeschooling them, and then they started dressing alike again. So it was like a 1 or 2 year period where they were kind of doing their own thing. And then they started doing it on their own. So what's been so interesting for me, I mean, I feel like I'm losing my mind sometimes as a parent of identical twins because they change and it's hard for me to keep up with them. So for example, um Addison, one of my twins, she was super duper bossy. I'm gonna say this like 3 or 4 years ago. Super duper bossy. She was the mean girl at school.
Oh.
Like,
Oh.
and she's very
Wow.
pretty. I mean, they're both pretty.
Wow.
They're identical twins, but
Right.
she's flirty pretty, right?
She's
So
flirty
that's a
pretty. Got it. Yep.
personality trait.
Okay. Got it. Yeah.
So these boys were all about her, right? And she was breaking
Mhm.
hearts and stuff like that. You know, like, oh, got to reel that one in. While her sister was kind of the support of her.
Oh.
Yeah, I can't really
She was the
even
wingman.
explain it.
She was the
Kind
wingman.
of the wingman. It's kind of like your best friend because they are
Right.
their best friends.
They're
Okay.
best friends. Yeah.
But it and so anyway, so
Mhm.
that's the way it was a couple years ago. And I would say to my other daughter, Ainsley, the the wing woman,
Wing
I'd
girl.
be like, you know, you're your own person. You know, you
Yeah.
don't have to do what your sister does. Yeah, I feel like a broken record constantly saying this to them. And now it hasn't completely swapped because that's not Ainsley's personality to be a mean girl or to like flirt with boys. Really, that's not her personality. But the power dynamic has changed so
Interesting.
that now Ainsley is the leader, so to speak. And Addison is kind of the sweet, nice girl. At least she's not a mean girl. Oh my goodness. But it's like, I can't even figure this out with twins, much less add in my two boys who their personalities are completely different. You know, I've got a jock
Of course.
and I have
Yeah.
got, I mean, they both play sports, but I view my older son as more intellectual,
Mhm.
you know, really retrospective. I don't know. He's a deep thinker. I
Mhm.
don't know.
Yeah.
They're still totally different is my point. And they're changing. And that's my
Yes.
biggest problem is trying to honor this. I'm like, okay, are you the leader now? Are we switching again? I don't
Yeah.
know. I
I'm
don't know
not
what
sure.
to think today.
Yeah, that's such a good point. And I think what you're saying though is so true. And I think just being vulnerable is a really key
Yes.
way to help them build their confidence. You know, it's
Yeah.
saying to your kid, I don't know, but let's try this. Or I really can see that you're frustrated by that. I would be too. What do you think is the right next step? You know, having questions
Mm.
available is sometimes better than having answers. And you know, the thing I'm just really noticing about kids growing up, they want to be adults, but they do not want to be adults. And I
They don't want
have
the
some,
responsibilities.
I said to my almost 30-year-old and 26-year-old recently, I don't want to
Yeah.
adult any more than you do. Like, I would rather not if I didn't have to. So I understand what you're talking about. You know, and there's a lot that comes with getting older and the responsibilities of being yourself and, you know, stepping in from whether it's one school to another or from a school to a career or from one job to another. They're going through changes faster, it feels like, than we did in our Gen X version of ourselves. And so I think that the key here for all the moms and parents listening out there, it's really to just try to build their confidence for little steps at being
Mhm.
authentic. Little. So if they want to dress alike, what you just said, woohoo, good
Yeah.
step, good choice. And when they stumble with a bad decision, okay, get up, dust off, do it again. Learn to fail fast because that confidence is the
Yes.
thing.
Absolutely. And I think the more we can model that to our kids, it really does start with us. We don't even realize, like we say, oh, kids are like little sponges. They pick up on everything. You know, I'm sure that is true, but you know, as long as you're in contact with your kid, like you are having an impression on them, whether you think you are or not, right?
Yep.
So I think one of the best things we can do as parents is to be authentic in who
Yeah.
we are, right?
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
care what other people think so much, but what are you like when you are your most happy? What is it that you're doing?
Yes.
Then do more of that. I mean, literally, that is the formula. Like, that is the most simple thing. And if you just keep playing into that, your kids are going to see that. And then
Yep.
for you as a parent, it's just giving them that space to try things out. Even if your kids are flippy floppy, like mine are right now, I still try to honor them. Like, okay, this is what we're doing today. That's okay. We're
Yeah.
good. You
Yeah.
know? And
No, that's
just roll with
great
it,
advice.
right?
That's exactly it right there. Just let them be and go with it as much as you can. And as long as they're not, going to run out in front of a fast moving train or do something that could harm others, you're probably
Yeah.
doing okay.